Good Monday morning. I am Genevieve Jones-Wright, the founder and lead empower mentor of Motivation.In.Action, or MIA. And I am so excited about this month's conversation because we're going to be celebrating African American or Black Music Appreciation Month all month long because, of course, that's what June is. And I'm extra excited because I'm going to have one guest the entire month of June who happens to be a pioneer and a legend in the area of music, my uncle, Preacherman Larry Thompson. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for the opportunity to join you right here on this Motivational Monday.
Yes, well, let me tell you, I am so honored to have you because you are just simply a trailblazer, and also because you've poured so much into me. And there was no other person that I could think of to carry this theme about Black music appreciation more than you. No one can do that better than you.
To God be the glory.
Yes.
That's my phrase. I've always said that, and who I am and what I am is largely 100%, let's just put it like that, predicated upon the goodness of God. I'm a person that's living the dream that I had as a child. So whatever impact we've had, to God be the glory.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about that because as a young child, you would talk to me about how you had a dream as a young person to become a DJ. So let's just talk about that. What was the journey like?
Well, the journey began when I was innocent. Let's put it like that, okay? And when I say I was innocent, I'm talking about in my childhood when I would daydream, and my things that I would daydream about was, for some reason, was being a DJ. One of the fantasies that I would engage in as a child is I would take two aluminum pie pans and a Coke, we call it Coca-Cola bottle. And I would place the pie pans, one on the right, one on the left, Coke bottle in the middle. And in my childhood fantasies, I would close my eyes and I would imagine that I was a DJ on the radio. Pie pan on the right was a turntable, imaginary. Pie pan on the left was a turntable. Coca-Cola bottle was my microphone. And this is the absolute truth. I would imagine, even before the internet, that as a child I was speaking to the world. And, well, God blessed me to live that dream, and that dream became a reality.
I love that. That is so vivid. And as you're describing it, I can actually see that.
Yeah.
So was this something that you saw someone else doing? Maybe you knew a DJ or heard a DJ on the radio. Where did that come from? Or was it just something that God gave you? Or both?
Well, I think it was a combination of both. I do remember the actual moment when I guess I accepted it, or it really manifested, or it flashed in my spirit. I remember the moment. And that moment became just a brand for me, and assurance. What happened is, in my childhood, obviously I grew up in Mississippi, on the outskirts of town, if you will. And we would go to town maybe once a month on Saturdays. And there was a radio station, I remember it so vividly. It was WOKJ. It was an all-black radio station in Jackson, Mississippi, off of Lynch Street. And on our way to town, we passed by the radio station, or we came to the intersection where the radio station was located. And one of the DJs was out, like in the middle of the intersection, passing out headshots, black and white. And as a little boy, I'm on the back seat, and I stick my arm out, and he gives me this headshot. And the name of that DJ He called himself the Mighty Burner. Okay, so he gave me the picture. And I looked at that picture and I studied that picture. And I don't know, just while looking at it, it was a black and white picture. It just done, that's what I wanted to be, And wow, the rest is history, And that probably, I couldn't, I was probably maybe 8 or 9 years old.
I was just going to ask you.
Yeah.
What age? How long ago was that? Because you still remember the DJ's name. You still remember that moment. It was that impactful.
Yes. I remember the DJ name, and I would listen to him on the radio. And again, he called himself the Mighty Burner. And he would come on Sunday afternoons. That was his only time slot. And he was good. The Mighty Burner.
Did you used to impersonate him?
No, actually, I did not. The Mighty Burner wasn't so much a mentor for me. He was more of a someone that I admired. But the gentleman that I really wanted to model myself after, he was a school teacher, and his name was Richard Gerald. He's played at a place called Freddie's West Side Lounge. That's about 4 blocks from Jackson State University off of Lynch Street in Jackson, Mississippi. So you can imagine you have Jackson State 4 blocks down the street and the club, Freddie. You can imagine what kind of crowd and energy that was. But I would go, Genevieve, to the club back in the day. I always went by myself. And I always got a table close to the DJ where I could just watch him. And that's what I would do. And this guy, his name was Richard Gerald, but he called himself Pappy. That Negro could spin some records. He was good. And one day, one night, he observed me watching him, so I would go up and request a record, he would play it. And so what happened is when I started spinning records at a place called Jive and Otis Lounge, that was in the neighborhood that I grew up in, everybody, would, head out, to top of the hill, Jive and Otis Lounge. And so I had enough nerves to go to Freddie's one Sunday afternoon. And I had a few records with me. So I went in and I asked Freddie, who was the owner, if he had an opening for a DJ. And Freddie told me, he says, well, come on back. Let me see what you can do. I went back. The first record that I put on was For the Love of You by the Isley Brothers.
Yeah.
I put that record on. There was some young ladies in there. And somebody hollered, hey! I got hired that night. The gentleman, Richard Gerald, a.k.a. Pappy, whom I had been watching for a couple of months, he came in and took a seat right down front. And as I watched him, he watched me. And I was timid. I was somewhat shy. And this was a breaking point for me. He sent a message to me. He said, go back there and tell that DJ he got to get in the mic. Don't be scared of the mic. And ever since that night, I just went with that, and started to emulate him to some degree. But then finally I broke off on my own. And I still, periodically, will have one of those flashback moments, when I think about Richard Gerald. To me, Pappy, that's what he called himself. He was the baddest DJ ever. But one of the things that has been said to me, and I've even been asked the question, how is it that you talk on a microphone to the world and every individual get the idea that you are talking directly to them? and nobody else but them. That's a gift.
That's what I see in you, that there's this God-given natural ability to just communicate effectively and intimately. And on the radio now, you do that every single day. So I want to talk a little bit about what you do and the radio station that you have, so that folks out there who's hearing your story can also support and listen in. So what are you up to these days?
Well, still doing radio. It's getting to be a little challenge because I get up at 6 a.m. Monday through Friday. That's a challenge, getting up that early. But I'm compelled to do it. And what drives me to do it is this idea that God is going to use the music or the message. He's going to use me to say something or to play something that's literally going to make a difference in someone's life. I do that every day. Morning drive, 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. on San Diego Gospel Radio, and I use as a tagline, Feel the Flow, Preacherman's morning show, live and worldwide, streaming from San Diego.
See, you did it and I didn't even have to ask you to do it. That's one thing that I wanted to make sure we did this conversation, was you doing your radio voice. I mean, you already have a radio voice, even when I'm just talking with you on the phone. As a matter of fact, last week when you called me, my friend was listening and she goes, "Is that person on the radio?" And I said, "That's how my uncle's voice
Really?
is." Yes.
Yeah.
So you have this natural radio voice, but then you really turn it up. And that's something that I've always liked about radio DJs and radio personalities, because you really bring that personality. So
Yeah, and people say we don't look like we sound. When I first started radio here in San Diego, I was told, "You sound like this big old fat man. Look at me." No such thing. No. I don't really consider myself as having a radio voice, to be honest with you. I can do things with my voice that just comes natural, easy. For an example, hey friends, good morning to you. Welcome in. This is the Preacher Man. You already know I'm your host with the most, real close to Mexico, but I'm coming out of San Diego.
I love that.
I just make up stuff, that's what, this is, my listeners now, that's what they listen for. And it's just impromptu, it's just, good morning, y'all, the clock on the wall, 9 minutes on the backside of 6, it's just natural.
Well, we're going to close this portion of our conversation, but of course, I'm so glad that you're going to be back with us for the next 3 weeks, because there's so much more of your story we want to get into. And I want to know what you would leave with the audience today as they seek to jumpstart their week on a positive or an inspirational note. You talked about living your dream, but take this anywhere you want to. What would you leave with the audience today?
I would say to you that's listening, God has blessed you with the ability to do something that will make a difference in the lives of other people. My gift, my talent as a radio announcer, as a DJ, God did not give me that gift for my own edification. And yes, there's a benefit to it, to know that you've done something that you really hope will make a difference. The nose on my face is mine, but I didn't put it there. God put it there. The dream that's in your heart, you know what? God put it there. God will never give you an idea that is good for the betterment of humanity without giving you the ability to make that gift work for your good and His glory. And that's on the for real side.
That's that line I love so much. That's on the for real side. And really, there's nothing for me to add to that. You've heard it from the legend, the pioneer, Preacherman. God gave you something special. He gave you a talent, a gift, an ability. And if he gives you an idea, he will give you the ability to execute it. And it will not just be for your own edification, but of course for his glory and for the edification of everyone around you and people that you can uplift and touch. So as we go out and we start this first Monday in June, let us go forth with that knowledge and that inspiration, and we will be back next week as we hear more of Preacherman's story. Thank you so much for joining us for this week's Motivational Mondays. I'm going to see you next week, same time, same place, right here, with more inspiration to help you jumpstart your week. Now, if you found this week's conversation inspirational or motivational in any way, maybe you got a gem to carry with you throughout the day or the week, please feel free to like, comment, and share. Because remember, everyone can use some motivation. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I'll see you next week.